Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you very much. We're here in beautiful Coronado, and you can see in the background beautiful San Diego. And we're all very proud to be San Diegans and represent our communities here. As many of you know, the governor signed the budget last night. And it's a reason to celebrate for us here in San Diego because we did very well in this budget. And all of us have been working hard to ensure that we have a budget that reflects our values, that reflects California and its priorities, and that we spend this money wisely to make sure that we invest in all the areas that we want to see economic growth and all the areas where we want to see social change. With California now being the fifth largest economy in the world, it is more important now than ever to ensure that we are prioritizing those individuals that need it the most in our economy. In the past, we've left many people behind, and we're working to change that. When I took office in 2010, the state was in terrible financial shape. And even the mic fell apart. This is embarrassing. Why is it so flimsy? Kind of.
Yeah, everybody inevitably does this.
We need to prioritize funding a podium. Obviously, we're not putting money into well, at least you know where the money is going and where it's not. But today, when I took office, our state had a $45 billion deficit. Today, we are looking at a $22 billion rainy day fund so that we don't ever have another $45 billion deficit. Today, we are happy to report that the work we have been conducting in Sacramento is coming to fruition. Our state's economy is projecting a continued surplus into the future. The economy is doing well. There's more prosperity than ever. And I'm very proud to be involved in this very progressive budget that emphasizes early childhood development and providing greater opportunities to the middle class. This year's budget will provide the highest level of school funding and per pupil funding ever in recorded California history. We are also committed to the prosperity of future generations, which is why the budget includes a $500 million allocation for child care infrastructure and workforce development. Also, to ensure that future generations are prosperous, we are making sure that they are healthy, which is why the budget also allocates $450 million to provide health care subsidies for middle-class families. And while California continues to see economic prosperity, we know that the growth may not be sustainable in the long term. In order to prepare our state for years to come, we have prepared a $19.4 billion reserve, including a $16.5 billion rainy day fund and a $500 million rainy day fund for our schools. I'm also proud to announce that with the help of my colleague, Assemblymember Gloria, we've been able to bring funding for an abundance of projects back to San Diego and in my district, the 40th Senate District, which includes parts of Gloria's Assembly District. The very first significant win that we want to discuss today is a $15 million allocation that without Assemblymember Gloria would not have been possible. This is good teamwork, working together on a very difficult issue. $15 million for the Tijuana River Valley pollution control efforts. I am tired of reading about the continued state of emergency in the Tijuana River Valley. We're on our 24th year of issuing the state of emergency. And it's frustrating that we're still grappling with this problem. It's about time that we start to make the infrastructural improvements to stop these horrific flows into our precious ocean. This funding will provide vital in addressing the sewage crisis affecting our southernmost communities. These toxic transboundary flows have caused and continue to cause severe economic and environmental degradation, as well as continuing health problems for the people that recreate in our oceans and that recreate in our important river valley. Recent rainstorms have overwhelmed the International Sewage Treatment Plant and the holding basins that were built, sending more than 110 million gallons of toxic water of stormwater north of Mexico since April, devastating the beaches and in Imperial Beach and Coronado. While we used to see these types of runoffs during mainly only rainstorms, now we are experiencing them during dry seasons and dry periods, which is very concerning. Further illustrating the longevity and persistence of this public health nuisance, the southernmost beaches of Imperial Beach have been completely closed since 2018. We now know that the responsibility of controlling this continued discharge of pollutant lies with the federal government, namely IBWC. IBWC being an extension of the State Department, and the State Department being an extension of the presidential administration. They have the power to solve this problem. They have the power to influence the governments of Mexico to make this a priority. They have the ability to influence the government of Mexico to make this a priority. But it seems to us that IBWC has been looking the other way for almost 4 decades. This has not been a priority of the IBWC, and we have been working hard to make sure they understand how important it is to our health and well-being and our environment. Putting $15 million from our state government is an unprecedented statement about how important this is to us, especially when this problem is entirely within their responsibility and control. Last year, I requested that the state agreed that the California Attorney General, together with the San Diego Regional Quality Control Board, sue the U.S. IBWC to compel them to assume their responsibility to clean up the mess. That action is moving forward, as are other lawsuits by the cities of Imperial Beach, Chula Vista, San Diego, the Port of San Diego, and Surfrider Foundation San Diego. But the judicial system moves slowly, and while they deliberate, we're moving quickly. We're setting aside these funds as a hook to both Mexico and IBWC to understand the magnitude of the problem, realize the magnitude of the problem, and act in accordance to the magnitude of the problem. Therefore, yet again, because of inaction by the U.S. IBWC, the state of California is stepping in to help in the interim. Although this $15 million allocation is far beyond our state's legal responsibility, Californians all recognize that we cannot stand idly by while our residents and tourists are poisoned and our economy is hampered. In 2017, I authored SB 507, which provided $500,000 to the County of San Diego to prepare a comprehensive study to the Tijuana River Valley. Again, another issue that Assemblymember Gloria was a co-author and also helped us get this through the Assembly. Again, good teamwork and a strong partnership. Without that, we wouldn't be able to do anything on this regard. The county has released a draft list of 26 projects that they believe will aid the cross-border pollution issues. With the passage of this budget, we will now have funding available as soon as the final results of the study are released so that we can get right to work and not delay another minute. The past 4 decades prove that we sadly cannot rely on the U.S. IBWC. The state of California is going above and beyond its legal responsibility in taking action on this matter. Now is the time for all watershed residents and jurisdictions to come together to play a role in creating and maintaining a healthy watershed for our families, businesses, and visiting tourists. Now, after the long speech, I'd like to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Assembly Member Gloria, to see if I left anything out.
No, no. Thank you, Senator Hueso. And I appreciate the partnership with Ben to make sure that we're representing certainly the communities of South San Diego County, specifically Imperial Beach and Coronado, well on this issue. Guys, just very quickly, the Senator explained this is a good budget year. And after making sure that we passed a budget, that we passed it on time with a 2/3 majorities in both houses, and really making sure that this document really reflects, I think, the priorities of our time. You see that we have paid our rainy day fund so that we're prepared for the next recession, that we paid off debt, particularly from the Great Recession, all the sort of things that were put on the credit card to make ends meet then, we've paid off that debt now. And now we're taking, after sort of paying the required things that we have to do, we're making strategic investments across the state to make sure that our economy continues to thrive. And that's what we're here to announce. Senator Hueso has done a tremendous job this year of making sure that what San Diegans send to Sacramento in the forms of taxes come back to our community to make sure that we're really reinvesting in places that will give us a good bang for our buck. And we want to illustrate two projects here today. The first, as he had mentioned, is this $15 million commitment to the Tijuana River Valley. I want to point out that this kind of commitment comes only because of a partnership not just between Senator Hueso and myself and our entire San Diego delegation, but with our local cities. And we have joined today by Paloma Aguirre from the city of Imperial Beach and my friend Bill Sankey from the city of Coronado. These communities have said very clearly that they want more involvement from the state and federal governments and from the government of Mexico to solve this particular problem. You see the state, as Senator Hueso said, is doing its part by making this $15 million commitment. And this isn't just throwing cash around for the sake of throwing cash around. As he mentioned, 2 years ago, we paid for a study to figure out what are the right interventions, what are the right investments to actually get this problem fixed. And as he's saying, the county is completing that particular work. We will have a menu of options for which this $15 million can be invested in. And I stand with the senator in saying that this investment does not have to be California's alone, that other governments, particularly our federal government and the government of Mexico, can also choose to invest with us, to leverage these dollars to have a larger positive impact on this community. We know that the closure of our beaches in South County are an absolute shame. This is not just an issue of concern to families in this community. Our children in Imperial Beach and Coronado have every right to access our state beaches and to have clean and safe water. But we also know that this is a detriment to our regional economy. Every time the beaches are closed, the message is sent here far and wide. People know about this problem, and that is not the reputation that we want for cities as fine as Coronado and Imperial Beach. And lastly, we know that this investment is an investment in our local small businesses, the very small businesses that are harmed when the beaches are closed and less people come to patronize those businesses. So after passing a responsible budget and paying all of our bills in full and on time, paying off some debt, we're making smart investments, investments that are not just throwing cash, but really smart strategic investments that we know will improve the quality of life. I hope that the government of Mexico, the federal government, and others will join us in this effort. Time is wasting. It is past time fixing this problem. I'm proud to stand with Senator Hueso in making this $15 million commitment. Thank you, guys.
And we have joining us today Paloma Aguirre, Councilwoman with the City of Imperial Beach.
Thank you so much, Senator. Thank you. It is very important to me on a personal level to be here today to publicly thank Senator Hueso and Assemblymember Gloria for their work championing this $15 million that are, as I mentioned, unprecedented to our region, unprecedented investment into the Tijuana River Valley. We're currently, right now, we are having a 3.5 million gallon of sewage spill running into our beaches. Just yesterday, they had to issue a beach closure as kids are swimming and surfing in our beaches. It's summer. They should be out having fun in healthy waters, and unfortunately, because of that sewage spill, they can't. And this funding could go directly to infrastructure on our side. While Mexico gets their act together, while our federal government gets their act together, this $15 million can go to infrastructure that could have captured those 3 million gallons of sewage, preventing essentially a beach closure in Imperial Beach. Now, I am so grateful again to our representatives here from the state. The state has clearly stepped up to the plate. Mexico needs to do the same. Just this week, we met with some very high-level advisors of the Department of State of the federal government of Mexico. As we know, Mexico has new leadership at the federal, at the state, and at the local level. There's been very much a message of prioritization of this issue and figuring out what types of investments will be made on Mexican infrastructure where it really is needed. So now, who is left in the equation? It's the federal government. So I want to publicly call on the Trump administration to please, please attend this issue, invest resources on this issue, because this is what we need. We need to have a healthy environment. We need to have a healthy economy. And more than anything, our kids and our families need to be able to recreate freely and in a healthy way in our South San Diego beaches. So thank you so much again, Senator West and Assemblymember Gloria, for championing this budget, for championing, always being champions to the South Bay. So thank you very much.
The second big allocation I would like to discuss today is $5 million for the San Diego Coronado Bridge, but understand that also comes with funding that we've been working within our local Caltrans department here in the San Diego County area, which we believe will be enough to fully fund whatever improvement we need to stop suicides from continuing to occur here in our wonderful, iconic bridge. These monies will be spent on efforts to promote suicide prevention measures on the bridge. I believe it's not necessarily specifically for a barrier, but anything that will stop these suicides, and if I believe that that's going to require a barrier. Since its construction in 1969, the bridge has become famous for its beauty and unique design, and it's one of the most recognizable bridges in the United States and, in fact, the world. In fact, it is listed on the Register of Historic Places, and it serves as a critical connection between the major population centers of Coronado and San Diego. About 13,000 vehicles traverse this bridge each day, and it's a critical point of transportation between two of the largest military bases in the country that provide for national defense in a very strategic and important way. However, during its existence, it has also evolved into a common location for suicides. Since 1969, roughly 400 individuals have ended their life on the bridge, and other accidents have contributed to the loss of life in a way that should have been prohibited. In fact, it is recognized as the second most frequently used bridge for suicides in the United States, witnessing as many as 19 self-inflicted deaths annually. In response, non-physical measures have been implemented. However, without success, including presence and monitoring of California Highway Patrol, as well as installation of bird spikes. Highway Patrol has been highly effective in reducing speeds on the bridge, and we thank our officers in the field for helping to provide for the safety on the bridge. However, these initiatives are only temporary, they have not been able to fully address the issue. The fact of the matter is that the state is not moving quickly enough to address this epidemic. The Caltrans draft feasibility study was released almost a year ago and provided 13 options and prototypes. It's been a year and there are still 9 options on the table with a price that ranges from $30 million to $150 million. If we don't take action soon, the Coronado Bridge would be the deadliest bridge in the country after the Golden Gate Bridge suicide prevention measures are completed in 2021. Last month, I held a press conference to discuss my bill, SB 656, which asked the California Department of Transportation to act quickly to establish an advisory committee which would provide the input on the selection of a proper suicide deterrent system and to move expeditiously to implement that system, install it, and complete it. The bill was approved by the Senate and is making its way through the Assembly currently. Now with this $5 million allocation, we'll be better positioned to move quickly with the permanent barrier as well as fund stopgap measures in the meantime, and also make a statement by the legislature and the government and the governor that this is a priority of the state of California, which we believe will get Caltrans to act more expeditiously. I thank the governor for approving this funding, as it is an instrumental step in ending this tragic piece of history which continues to prevail in our community today. I'd like to now ask Councilmember Sankey if he'd like to make some comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Coronado. On the suicide issue, Coronado has taken a leadership role in this, and we're super happy that Assemblymember Gloria and Senator Hueso have come forward to assist us in a problem that we take personal ownership in. We call it the Coronado Bridge. In August of this year, we'll celebrate the 50th anniversary of that bridge, and over 400 people have chosen to take their lives from it. We can stop it. We've got plans in place to move forward. It's going to take money, and that money's starting here with these two gentlemen today. We, as a community, we could not be more proud. On the second issue, it's a great day for Coronado, and it's a great day for Imperial Beach, and it's a great day for our region. To get funding oriented directly towards the problem with the Tijuana River Valley is hugely important. While the federal government seems to jump through hoops, escaping responsibility from department to department, the state of California has stepped up to do something tangible, something permanent, something that we can actually build to say, we've caught some of this trash, we've caught some of the sewage, we've diverted some of this flow, and create more economic opportunities in our beach communities, create cleaner water, and make our region a better place to live, work, and play. I definitely salute both the two gentlemen here behind me, as well as the efforts of our regional partners in solving the sewage crisis. It's not an unsolvable problem. We did it in the early 90s by building a plant, by building pumping stations, by working cooperatively with Mexico. We can do it again, and it starts 10 years ago that we started making noise about this again. And it starts with the money from the state of California. And it starts with the EPA meeting here 2 weeks ago that identified several doable projects that deserve federal funding. So we look forward to working with the state, the federal government, as well as the North American Development Bank to make sure that stuff happens on our border to keep stuff off our beaches. Thank you very much for being here today.
And now to wrap up this press conference and give it a magnificent ending of Philharmonic proportions, we have Assemblymember Gloria.
Philharmonic.
Everything is said. You don't need to hear more from me. I would just say very simply, I think often Ben and I don't have the fortune of being here every day. We have to go up to Sacramento and represent our communities. And you rightly ask, as our bosses, what are you doing? And here today, we're here to say that we hear you. We're acting as expeditiously as possible to address some of the key issues in this community. In Coronado, as Councilmember Sankey has said, people want to see change on the Coronado Bridge, to not have this terrible reputation that is developed. And as he said, it is solvable. Ben and I heard that call, and we've advocated through the budget process to put real money that will help save people's lives. Councilmember Aguirre and her council and mayor in Imperial Beach know full well that the water issues in the Tijuana River Valley are terrible. We have heard you, and we've made sure that this budget makes a real down payment on that. I think collectively we should celebrate this budget, and as Ben had mentioned, thank our governor who giving the consent for these spending items, but more importantly, to make sure that we're making key investments in one of the most important communities in the state. I think that our neighborhoods, our communities, our cities will be better because of these investments, and this partnership I have with Ben Hueso is awesome. I like to say he's Batman, I'm Robin, and we're taking care of business for California. So guys, thank you very much for being out here and supporting us today.
Do you have any questions?
I'll see you guys at Halloween.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Well, we fixed it.